he did it. Hands off Joe Biden. Look, there are a lot of reasons to not like Joe Biden, and this is one of them. He gets way too close to people he does not know. It's inappropriate, it's weird, it's creepy, and it happened overseas. Now, I love kids. We all love kids. But you don't play eat a stranger's child, all right? What was that? What was that? Seriously. It was some sort of play eating. And the kid is not liking it. You just don't do that, all right? You don't. And the kid is obviously a little bit uncomfortable. You see, you're kind of like shirking away. What is this all about? And then part two, when Joe goes in for the kiss, the kid really doesn't like it and tries to escape. Yeah, no, leave me alone. And he knows he's out of there, but the damage has already been done. This is what he does. He's been doing it for a long time, and we don't like it. He's been warned about this. He's been told about this by a lot of people, including this woman.
Joe Biden was behind me. I'm kind of preparing myself to give these remarks. It's the very last days before the election. And very unexpectedly and out of nowhere, I feel Joe Biden put his hands on my shoulders, get up very close to me from behind, lean in, smell my hair, and then plant a slow kiss on the top of my head.
I think we all believe her, right? We've seen him do it a million times. Joe is a guy who feels pretty much entitled to do whatever he wants. Grabbing women, smelling women, kissing women, and maybe grabbing money from all over the world as well. You saw that picture, of course. Remember this with the senator's daughter? That was, and I mean, there's hours of footage. It goes on and on and on. Hillary Clinton even was trying to give him the brush. And Joe, well, this all came to a head, kinda, in 2019, 2020, when he was running for president. This was a story because of that woman in Vegas who came forward. So he said he wouldn't do it anymore.
Social norms have begun to change, they've shifted, and the boundaries of protecting personal space have been reset. And I get it. I hear what they're saying. I understand it. And I'll be much more mindful. That's my responsibility, and I'll meet it.
Just something he said because it got through a little minor crisis that he had. Media was giving him a hard time, so he puts that out, doesn't mean it, continues to touch, grope, smell women from all walks of life, including Eva Longoria and that baby, Eva Longoria at the White House. All right, this woman, you don't touch a lady like that you don't, and we're telling the President of the United States this. The President of the United States has to be told these things. You know what president did not have to be told these things? Donald Trump. I mean, he may have said some stuff behind the scenes. Drop the banner, please, and you'll see. He would never invade the physical space of anybody. That's just not what a gentleman does, okay? It's amazing what they say about him and what we know and what they don't say about him, the other guy, and what we know. All right, now this. The world. I love this planet, don't you? It's an amazing place. It really is. And believe it or not, it's actually almost better than it's ever been before. Yes, we have problems, very serious problems, but if you compare the problems we have now to the problems we had centuries ago, this is almost heaven on earth. When countries went to war like 1,000 years ago, the entire country, right, including the children, went to war. And the victors, well, they got everything. They got the property, the money, the women. It was barbaric. The medieval times, you can look it up. Today, warfare and a lot of other things are actually, well, much more civilized in comparison. What are we looking at here? The streets of Kyiv, Ukraine, where I'm told a war is raging, and we've spent a lot of money helping these guys, right? And, well, what do they do over there? They go to McDonald's in Kyiv. Yeah, it's like life goes on. They even party a lot. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? I never thought that this is what, and I'm not saying, look, I'm glad that they're safe in Kyiv, but it is better than how it used to be in total war scenarios. There's a book about this. Came out a couple of years ago, The Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker, Why Violence Has Declined. He also tries to make another point that overall human beings are living now better than they ever lived before. I mean, we live like kings compared to the ordinary person today lives like the king of 100 years ago. Let's go through it. Or 50 years ago, air conditioning, when it first came out, it was, well, only the elites had it and nobody else did. Now, it's pretty much everywhere. The elites actually want to take it away from us for global warming. If you have cable TV, you have access to what, 1,000 channels maybe? If you have a cell phone, you have access to, well, everything. Everything. Take a look at this kid. I think this is from the Sudan. These two kids were in the Sudan, right? Two kids in the Sudan today, right now, with a cell phone, have access to more information than Bill Clinton did at the Oval Office in 1993. That's amazing. You know, I used to fantasize, actually, when I was a little kid, maybe I'll be president someday. And the first thing I wanted to do, I was going to look up the JFK files. Bring me the JFK files. I want to see everything. Well, you can find a hell of a lot right now on the internet, including autopsy stuff. I don't think the National Archives actually would give me all the stuff now that we know how they operate. So, look, what am I getting at here? Like I said before, middle-class people live better than the kings from decades ago. Warren Buffett. Do we like Warren Buffett? Sometimes. He made an excellent point about this. Take a look.
You know, they've got air conditioning in summer, and I got air conditioning. They got heat in winter, and almost everything. So any importance in daily life, we equate on. The one thing I do is I travel a lot better than they do. You know, net jets. So the travel I do a lot easier than they do. Everything else in their lives, it just, you know, I'll switch places anytime. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, have you heard this about him? He has a regular car. It's like a Chevrolet. He has an ordinary house, but he travels in style. That's what really separates the rich, the super rich, from everybody else. And there he is with Bill Gates on some jet. If I had the money, I'd do the same thing. And that is what's driving so much of what's happening right now. Powerful people in politics want money so they can travel like this. They don't want to be with us, certainly not at the airport, right? They don't want to be with us. They don't want to be on the lines. And I don't want to be on the lines, but you just have to suck it up. Do you want to make all the compromises you have to make to get on a private jet? You don't. The moral compromises, to take a stupid selfie. By the way, when you're on a private jet, you're trapped. You got to talk to the people. It's too small. You like the anonymity. Maybe you talk to the person next to you on a regular flight. Maybe you don't. So that brings us to John Kerry. John Forbes Kerry, our environmental czar, flying all over the world on private jets. Why does the man in charge of environmental, whatever he's actually doing, flying on private jets?
I understand that you came here with a private jet. Is that an environmental way to travel?
If you offset your carbon, it's the only choice for somebody like me who is traveling the world to win this battle. The time it takes me to get somewhere, I can't sail across the ocean. I have to fly to meet with people and get things done. But what I'm doing almost full time is working to win the battle of climate change.
I understand. You're a hypocrite, basically. You're a hypocrite. And he was nailed today on Capitol Hill. First, he started things off with a great big lie. You know, there are so many pictures of this guy in private jets. He can't deny it, but he did.
I just don't agree with your facts, which began with the presentation of one of the most outrageously persistent lies that I hear, which is this private jet. We don't own a private jet. I don't own a private jet. I personally have never owned a private jet. And obviously, it's pretty stupid to talk about coming in a private jet from the State Department up here. It just, honestly, if that's where you want to go there.
Yeah, they want to go there, and they did, and it's spectacular. It's interesting. He said, we don't own a private jet. And then he said, I don't own a private jet personally. It's his wife, very rich woman. Next, please.
The John Kerry family private jet was sold shortly after accusations of climate hypocrisy. Mr. Secretary, do you stand by that testimony that
objection.
you've never owned or
I
your
personally,
family? By your family.
personally, yes, my wife owned a plane, and so the
And you
plane.
flew on
that's
that plane.
Not in a number of years, but I have flown on it.
And
Sure.
this article is not then inaccurate, that your family owned a plane, you flew on a plane.
My
Mr.
wife
Secretary, Mr.
owned.
Secretary,
My wife owned
here's
a plane.
the
Okay. But he said we don't own a plane. And when did she sell it? February of this year. Next.
when we are asking Americans to make serious sacrifices as we transition for the common good, and your family and or yourself are flying around on private jets, that smacks of hypocrisy. It actually hurts your cause.
Good point, Congressman. What does the hypocrite have to say to that?
Otherwise, all of my trips are commercial
Have you
airlines.
flown on a private jet in a personal or official capacity since you've taken this position?
Possibly once. I don't. I think. I just don't. I'm trying to think.
There's a lot of, wow, how about that? But it's John Kerry. I mean, we rejected him in 2004 because of reasons like this. We all know he's a rich guy, has the planes, very stylish and all that stuff. And that's the way he rolls. That's the way he rolls. Do you remember when we kind of first met him as a country? Actually, the second time we met him as a country. Remember this?
I'm John Kerry, and I'm reporting for duty.
First of all, you don't salute like this. It was the worst salute ever. It reminded me, seeing this again, that his whole life has been a scam, all right? He went to Vietnam because he had this plan to oppose the war in Vietnam and falsely accused soldiers and Marines of war crimes. And he did that for his own political benefit. I was fooled for a little while. In 2004, you know by now how I feel about the Iraq War, all right? I don't think George W. Bush should have been reelected. So, yeah, I voted for the guy. Can you believe that? I was a totally different person, but he blew it. That was a winnable race. But remember, it was his wife's plane.
My name is Teresa Heinz Kerry.
All right. Anyway, the private jet, it really makes people do stupid things. So what do you think? Is this worth compromising your principles? It's not. It's not, but they all do it. This explains so much of the lobbying, the money-hungry culture there. They want enough money to get their own jet. Like Gordon Gekko in Wall Street said, who's really seduced by this? Kamala Harris.
I'm sorry for dripping, but drip is what I do. And one of these days, I'm sorry for dripping, but drip is what I do. And one of these days,
with the gangsta music, right? This is very, I don't know, this is kind of, whoa. And this was all we saw during the campaign. She made good on this promise, because every time she gets on Air Force Two, they put a silly video of her getting on the plane. Look at me, I'm getting on a plane. Now, look, there are Republicans who do this, Democrats who do this, but one of the reasons why they really hate Donald Trump is because the guy can afford his own plane, okay? And that's what they want. He doesn't have to compromise. It's his plane. That's one of the reasons why we like him. Not that he's rich enough to have the plane, but it says that he doesn't have to compromise. Does that make sense? I hope so. Be right back.